can't make people respect you either. Either way, let's go on to number 6. Child, I'm always running late. So chapter 6. Now, where are we? Now we're talking about the king. Remember, I said chapter 5 didn't say what the king felt, and it still doesn't. So what's happening is now the king is in his bedchambers, right? And for whatever reason, the king cannot sleep. This is in chapter 5. So the king cannot sleep. He's in his bedchamber, and he's like, man, I can't sleep. He says, somebody read to me. Read to me. What did he say? He says, he couldn't sleep, so he ordered an attendant to bring the book of history of his reign so he could read to him. So this is the history of the king's reign. So he kind of wants to look. Again, he's also a narcissist, in my opinion. He don't want to hear the history of nobody else's reign. He wants to read the history of his own reign. So he says, bring me the book of the history of my reign. So he's reading the history of his reign, and he comes across the record in which Mordecai, which is King Esther's uncle, cousin, daddy, or whatnot, her guardian, is really her cousin, but he's like a dad to her, or an uncle, because he took her in when her family died, when her parents passed away. Both her parents died. So anyway, my glasses are broke, so ignore those. All right, so he reads it, and if early on in the first or second chapter, it referenced that Mordecai had warned the king of a plan in order to execute him. And this was a plan by 2 of the eunuch guards that manned the gate, I guess. And it was a plot to kill the king. So Mordecai had told the queen, at that time she was the queen, that there was a plan by these 2 individuals to kill the king. And then that prevented the attempt on the king's life. So he's reading that, and then he said, what reward or recognition did we ever give Mordecai for this? So that's what he asked the attendants, and the attendants was looking at each other, whatnot, and they was like, nothing has been done for him. And then the king says, who's in the king court right now? And it just so happened that Haman is in the king court. So the king says, summon Haman, because, okay, so Haman is there. Remember, Haman is there because now he's getting ready. He's already had this 75 feet gallows or whatnot built to impale Mordecai. So he's going to go to king and make sure that the king gives him permission to hang Mordecai and make it a big spectacle outside his own home, is what he's going to do. So that's why he's outside the king's chambers or whatnot, waiting to talk to the king to get permission to do so. So the king asked the attendant, who's out in the court? And he's like, oh, well, Haman's here. And he was like, bring him in. So Haman came in, and remember, Haman is there so he can ask permission. So Haman comes in, but before Haman can tell the king why he's here, the king says to him, what should I do to honor a man who truly pleases me? That's how my New Living Translation Bible reads it. He says, what should I do to honor a man who truly pleases me? This is what he asked Haman. And Haman thought to himself, now, child, I tell you, these people are narcissistic. I don't know if narcissistic is the right word, but he definitely tooting his horn. He said, he's thinking to himself, or he might have said it out loud because it is in quotes. No, it says, Haman thought to himself, whom would the king wish to honor more than me? I'm his second in command. I'm the man. Who else is he looking to honor? So automatically he's thinking that this is a plan that the king has set for him. So he's going to tell the king what he'd like to see done. He's telling the king exactly because that's what he thinks the king is getting ready to do. So he's getting ready to tell him, this is what I want to have done for me. So Haman replies to the king, If the king wishes to honor someone, he should bring out one of the king's own royal robes, as well as a horse that the king himself has ridden, one with a royal emblem on his head. Let the robes and the horse be handed over to the king's most noble officials, and then let him see that the man whom the king wishes to honor is dressed in the king's robe and led through the city square on the king's horse. Have the officials shout as they go, "This is what the king does for someone he wishes to honor." So Haman is saying, this is what I think you should do. I think you should get a robe, which is your own personal robe, and you should get a horse, which is one of your own personal horse. So it's a royal horse with a royal seal on it. And I think you should enlist one of your officials, one of your top leaders. I think you should enlist them to go to that person and have that person drape this robe on this person in which you want to honor, and then get on this horse, royal horse, and then that official should trot that person around and saying out loud, "This is what the king does for someone he wishes to honor." Now, keep in mind, you trotting them around the whole kingdom of the kings, right? It ain't a 1-minute affair. It is a vast affair. It is something that is going to be a big spectacle, because he wants everybody to see what the king does when he wants to honor somebody who pleases him. I think it's a great idea. Haman thought it was a wonderful idea, and the king thought it was a great idea too. Said, "I think it's a great idea. Let's do that." So that's what the king says to Haman. "I think it's a great idea. Let's do that." And then he says, "Quick, take the robes and my horse and do as you have said for Mordecai the Jew." Leave out nothing you have suggested. That's what he said. So Haman took the robes and put them on Mordecai, placed them on the king's own horse, and he led them through the city square shouting, "This is what the king does for someone he wishes to honor." After Mordecai returned, right, to the palace gate, but Haman hurried home dejected and completely humiliated. I'm sure he was smoking. If you could see smoke visually coming out his head, you would see the smoke coming out his head. And so Haman summoned his wife again and his homies, and he said to his wife and all his friends, he told them what exactly happened. And then this is what his friends say. I hate friends like this. I hate friends. And I'm finna tell you what the word says, and then I'm finna tell you why I hate friends like this. So he goes to his homies, they call the advisors, and his wife. And then they said to him, "Since Mordecai, this man who has humiliated you, is of Jewish birth, you will never succeed in your plans against him. It will be fatal to continue to oppose him." While they were still talking, the king's eunuch arrived and quickly took Haman to the banquet Esther had prepared. I hate friends like that. You know, friends like that pump you up when they know you're doing wrong. See, I like being around good counsel. My friends got to be able to tell me the truth. If they feel that what I'm doing is folly, I want them to tell me that. And I need to be woman enough to accept that word from them. And that's why you need to put yourself or have yourself around wise counsel. So I do put myself around people who are going to tell me the truth. Now, he didn't talk to these people before, and they knew because he told them. Let me see. How did he say it? What did he say to them on the 5? He says, "But all this is, he said, but this is all worth nothing as long as I see Mordecai, the Jew, just sitting there at the palace gate. So they knew he was Jewish. Look at my glasses, child. They knew he was Jewish. They knew he was one of them. Yet they sent him to go and build this, or recommended that he build this this gallows to impale him. They did not try to counsel him out of. And I went back to read to see if he enlisted the help of his wife or his wise people before he went to the king and asked to pay. I didn't see anything, but I only read a couple chapters. I mean, read I think chapter 2 or 3 or something like that. I'll have to go back a little further, but I don't think he enlisted their help before he went to the king and asked to buy or pay the king off in order to kill all the Jewish people. But still, he went to them and asked them about impaling him, and at that time they should have said, I think this is folly, and I think you need to back all of that out. They didn't say that. Instead, they was like, oh, well, let me tell you what. Why don't you build this thing, then go to the king and tell the king, ask the king for permission to go ahead and kill him before you kill all the rest of the Jews. And then you go and have a good time at this dinner with the queen. The other thing I want to say, and we had a Pastor Jason today who preached. He says divine delay. The other thing he wanted to point out is that sometimes there's a scripture, and I don't know where it is, but you can Google it and look it up, that says we should work as if we're working for the Lord. So when Mordecai went and told Vashti about the plan for these eunuchs, soldiers who had planned to or plotted to kill the king, he didn't do it with the expectation that he was going to be rewarded. I'm not sure, but I think he did get his position at that point, or maybe he was already in that position. I don't remember. But he didn't get no special reward. He didn't get no special recognition. He felt like I was doing my job as a part of the king's court, as a part of the citizen. You're protecting your king either way, regardless of how you feel about him. So even if in our current political climate, if you hear of a plan to kill the president, regardless of who you voted for, it's our due diligence to make sure that that does not occur. Even if we don't agree with things that are taking place, assassination of our leaders should not be an option. That includes what happened yesterday with the people, lawmakers or whatnot in Minnesota. We should be diligent as if we are working for the Lord. God will work all those other things out. So that was one thing he wanted to point out. And at the right time, God did what God do. King Xerxes couldn't sleep. He know he vain. He wanted to go ahead and read his book of what he's done thus far, and lo and behold, here's this person who's basically saved his life that he did not reward, and so he wanted to go ahead and do that at this time. Then he talked about divine disruption. That is exactly what happened, because at this point, if this had not happened, it's likely that Haman would have came into the king's presence. He would have told the king what he had planned to do to Mordecai, and the king would have said, not a problem, do what you do. You didn't already pay me a bunch of silver in order to kill all the Jews. What's one being killed sooner rather than later? But instead, here he comes, and now the king is saying, oh, we need to honor this man. Go clothe him in my robe, ride him around in my royal horse, and do all of these fabulous things. And then lastly, he said, divine distinction. And I don't remember, I didn't write any good notes for that. So I would say this, if you're planning something nefarious against somebody else, be ready for that to come back on you. And if you are doing what God has had you to do, if you're being faithful, because he talked about that, be faithful. Remember that you're not working for the Lord. I mean, you're not working for man, you're working for God. So our job is to always do what is right. And then God will reward us, whether now, tomorrow, or another day. It's getting good, you all. Chapter 6 was good. There's a lot that's going to happen in chapter 7. Remember, the last verse was where the king had finally summoned the Haman to come and dine with Esther. We'll see what happens next week. All right. If you haven't already done so, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. I'd love to hear from you. Go ahead and tell me what you think about the book of Esther, what you think about what's happening. What did I leave out? I know I left out a lot because the Bible always have good nuggets of a story to share with us. And remember, if you're not good to anybody else, be good to yourself. Until next time, see you soon, YouTube. Bye now.